Back when we were at our poorest, my girlfriend accepted $20 million from a wealthy woman in exchange for handing me over to be her new boyfriend. They had agreed on a 3-year term. Exactly 3 years later, Chloe, her eyes red and pleading, held out a ring and proposed to me. "Leo, come back," she begged. "I have money now." I could only roll my eyes in response. "Do you honestly think you have more money than my wife?" I asked. I wasn't an idiot. The rain was pouring down outside while I was stretched out on the couch, half watching television. My phone rang. It was a friend telling me he'd sent a birthday gift and insisting that I had to go downstairs to get it myself. "Can't they just bring it up to my door?" I grumbled. "Come on. It's a huge surprise, Leo," he insisted. "You have to check it out for yourself." I glanced toward the window. The rain was relentless, a torrential downpour that turned the late afternoon sky dark. The streetlights had already flickered on, casting a faint, hazy yellow glow through the misty air. With a sigh, I accepted my fate, grabbed an umbrella, and headed for the door. This had better be worth it. The moment I stepped outside, the rain felt like a physical weight, a heavy net thrown over the city. My umbrella practically snapped under the force of the wind and water. Through the deluge, I saw a figure standing under a distant streetlight, holding something vividly red. My heart gave a strange little jump, and I quickened my pace, hurrying over. "I'm really sorry about this rain," I said as I got closer. "Why don't you come inside and get dry?" The woman lifted her head, and my breath caught in my throat. It was Chloe. Her striking features hit me with the force of a cold splash of water. She was holding an enormous bouquet of fresh, blood-red roses. She was dressed to the nines with styled, wavy hair, a sleek black dress that hugged her figure, and those unmistakable red-soled heels. The rain hadn't managed to dishevel her at all. If anything, it only seemed to deepen the intensity of her features, like a figure in a fine ink painting. "Leo, I'm here to marry you," Chloe said, her voice steady as she pulled a small ring box from her pocket. She knelt right there on the wet pavement, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. The light from the street lamp fragmented in her pupils as she spoke, her voice cracking with emotion. "I checked the weather forecast for the entire month. Today was supposed to be the rainiest day. If this isn't enough, I'll wait for the next downpour. Leo, please, come back to me, okay?" I just stood there, completely still, the cold rain soaking through my white pants until they clung uncomfortably to my calves. I hesitated for a long moment before pulling my coat tighter around myself. "What is wrong with you calling me out in weather like this?" Chloe's eyes flickered with a hint of uncertainty, but she raised the ring higher. "Leo, have you forgotten? You told me you wanted to be proposed to in the rain." Chloe and I had met in college. We were close friends before we became each other's first love. We both came from ordinary, working-class backgrounds, and after graduation, we decided to stay and try to make a life for ourselves in the city. We didn't earn much back then, and Chloe often worked so late that she would miss the last subway home. We scrimped and saved, pinching every penny until we could afford a small electric scooter. The weather in the South was notoriously windy and rainy. I would sit on the back, clutching her waist tightly as she drove, yet the rain always found a way to drip down our raincoats until we were both drenched. Cars would rush past us on their way home, splashing huge puddles of grimy water all over us as they went. Chloe would get so upset. "Leo, I swear, someday I'll get you the best car," she'd promise, "so you never have to get wet again." I would just cling to her, pressing my face against her back. "It's fine," I'd say. "I like getting soaked. It feels refreshing." The words were barely out of my mouth before a deep chill sent a shiver through my body, which led to a high fever later that night. Chloe braved the storm again to run out and get medicine, brewed me ginger tea, and tucked me snugly into our blankets, cursing the miserable weather between her teeth. At the time, Chloe was under immense stress from her job, always wound tight with anxiety. I hated seeing her so unhappy, and was always trying to cheer her up with silly little things. That's why I started claiming to love rainy days, telling her the rain felt romantic and gave us a perfect excuse to stay inside, snuggled up together. On sunny days, I joked, people might call us shameless for being so close. Chloe had laughed, but her smile faded quickly. She pressed her hand against my burning forehead, and then rested her cheek next to mine, holding me tight. "I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice thick with guilt. "I blame myself for this. You're suffering because you're with me." Chloe's voice suddenly grew louder, more forceful. "Stop smiling like that, Leo. You always smile when you're lying." It was only then that I realized her proposal in the rain wasn't some kind of elaborate joke. Abstractly, I frowned. "Chloe, what is wrong with you?" She pursed her lips, looking flustered. "Leo, I'm just saying that Isabella is out of your league." I angrily grabbed a pillow from the couch and tossed it at her. "You're completely nuts." After a brief, playful tussle, Chloe genuinely apologized. She confessed that she was just too invested in me, and that seeing Isabella's hand on my shoulder earlier had made her boil with anger. "I must be crazy, Leo," she said, holding me tightly, with a determination that felt like she wanted to embed me into her very soul. "You made me this way. You're my whole world, Leo. You can't ever leave me." She promised we would never part ways, yet she was the very person who led me directly to Isabella. Later that day, Chloe had shown up, meticulously dressed as well. She wore a sharp black suit, her hair slicked back, exuding an air of confidence I'd never seen before. I was lying on the bed, watching her polish her expensive-looking shoes by the bathroom, and I felt a secret joy bubbling up inside me. It felt like tiny pops of happiness rising from my heart to my lips, and I couldn't stop myself from grinning. It was my birthday, after all, and I was certain that Chloe was going to propose to me today. We had been together for 7 years. It felt like it was finally time to make it official. Our apartment was tiny, but I knew everything was about to change. When Chloe finished with her shoes, she noticed me smiling, and couldn't help but smile back. "It's your birthday," she announced. "We're going somewhere nice. You should get dressed up a bit." "Dress up for what?" I asked, confused. "Last year we just went to that Sichuan place downstairs, and the year before that was Hot Pot at that little joint. I'd look bizarre all decked out. We had worked so hard to make it in this city, and with money always being tight, we were perpetually frugal. Only on our birthdays did we allow ourselves the small luxury of dining out. We'd sit across from each other on cheap red plastic chairs, with steam swirling between us, and I'd watch Chloe's face glow in the soft, warm light. I would close my eyes and make a wish, always hoping that Chloe would be by my side, year after year. "This year, we're skipping the greasy dives," Chloe said, standing up. She pulled a wrapped box out from under the bed. "Let me treat you to something fancy. Put on this suit." The suit was the finest piece of clothing I had ever seen. It was made of a deep green silk velvet that shimmered under the light and was tailored to perfection. I couldn't help but let out a little squeal of delight. Chloe paused, and for a moment her eyes seemed to dim, suddenly devoid of any warmth or laughter. "Of course you like this stuff," she remarked flatly. I didn't notice her strange expression at the time. I was too busy eagerly shedding my loungewear to try on the magnificent green suit. "I love it. I absolutely love it, Chloe. Of all the gifts you've ever given me, I think I love this one the most." I rushed forward to hug her, but she took a step back, her expression cool and distant. "Don't wrinkle your suit." "Oh, right," I said, carefully smoothing the fabric. I quietly tucked the price tag back into the collar. This suit must have been incredibly expensive. I decided then that after wearing it for the night, I would find a way to return it, even though I would hate to let it go. Such a luxurious fabric didn't belong in my life. It would just sit and get musty in my cheap canvas wardrobe, and that would be a terrible waste. I dreamed of the day when Chloe and I would save up enough money to buy a 90-square-meter, 3-bedroom apartment. Then, Chloe could finally bring her sick, single mother to live with us, and she wouldn't have to worry herself sleepless anymore. In that future, there would be plenty of fancy suits and countless happy days. I smiled at the thought and linked my arm with Chloe's. "So, where are we going today?" "The Island Hotel," she said, looking at my face intently, probing for a reaction. I swallowed the protest that almost blurted out. Island hotels were notoriously expensive, but I didn't want to be a killjoy. If I tried to return the suit, we were bound to fight, and if we skipped the hotel, all of Chloe's carefully laid plans would be ruined. I couldn't let her down, so I just nodded with a smile. "That place isn't cheap. Did you strike it rich or something?" Chloe seemed slightly disappointed by my reaction. She paused for a moment, then nodded lightly. "There's a restaurant at the top. My boss gifted me the meal tickets, so it's free. And it's not just the restaurant. We also got a voucher for a free room." That night, I felt like Cinderella stepping into a palace. Everything around me was sparkling, including the light in Chloe's eyes. I thought I was the luckiest man in the world. During dinner, Chloe kept encouraging me to drink. Even though I was never much of a drinker, I had a few more glasses than usual that night. When I finally opened the door to our hotel room, I saw a completely unfamiliar woman standing inside. I quickly turned around. "Chloe, did we go into the wrong room?" Unexpectedly, Chloe gave me a hard shove from behind, and the door slammed shut in my face, her own face disappearing along with it. My mind went completely blank until a pair of warm hands reached out to steady me. "Leo, are you all right?" the woman asked, helping me to my feet. I pulled away from her, fumbling with the doorknob, trying desperately to open the door. "Chloe, what are you doing?" From behind me, a soft voice said, "She sold you to me." My mind went blank again, desperately trying to process those 4 short words. "Sold you to me? What on earth did that mean?" The woman looked at me for a long moment before sighing in what seemed like defeat. "Don't you recognize me? I'm Isabella." It was only then that I remembered our brief encounter in front of a jewelry store a while back. Seeing that it was her, for some strange reason, I felt a slight sense of ease. I wasn't quite as scared as I had been a moment before. Isabella had seemed nice during our brief meeting. Surely she wouldn't do anything rash. I shakily tried to explain the situation. "My girlfriend brought me here for my birthday. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe she drank too much and got the rooms mixed up." I reached for my phone to call Chloe, my hands patting my pockets, but they were empty. It hit me then. This beautiful, expensive suit had no pockets, and Chloe had been carrying my bag for me. My phone was with her. If anything happened to me in this room, I had no way to call for help. My face turned pale, and I began to tremble as I pleaded with Isabella. "Isabella, maybe my girlfriend is just playing a joke. Could you please call her and have her come pick me up?" Isabella looked at me with a cold, appraising expression. She scrutinized me from head to toe as if she were evaluating a pricey product she had just acquired. $20 million. That's the price Chloe sold you for, she stated calmly. I transferred the money to her yesterday. Did she really tell you nothing at all? This Isabella was nothing like the friendly woman I had met on the street. She was cold and imposing, her gaze carrying an irresistible pressure. In an instant, my mind flooded with countless messy news stories I'd read about rich people and their twisted games. Charity was their public calling card, and good manners were their best disguise. But beneath that polished surface, their ways were often ruthless. I started shaking all over as my mind finally snapped back to the grim reality of my situation. I began to back away from her, step by step, waiting for her to look away for just a second so I could make a bolt for the door. The moment I yanked it open, a blast of cold wind whipped into the room, feeling as though it pierced right through my heart. Chloe, the woman I had loved for 7 years, was standing right there in the hallway, silently blocking any hope of escape. In that single, heartbreaking moment, I lost all energy for struggle or resistance. I could only stare at her familiar face, a face that felt embedded in my bones and mixed with my blood as tears poured uncontrollably down my cheeks. Chloe lowered her eyes and calmly reached out to close the door again. I collapsed, sitting weakly on the floor as Isabella came over and handed me a glass of warm water. 6 months ago, I acquired F Company, which means Chloe became my employee, Isabella explained. Everyone in the office said she had a very loving boyfriend. I became interested, so I called her into my office for a chat. Isabella believed that everything in the world was a transaction. She had directly asked Chloe what price she would take to give me up. Chloe's first reaction was fury. "Isabella, are you trying to insult my integrity?" Isabella had calmly adjusted her glasses. "5 million. Chloe clenched her fists and stormed out of the office. "No amount of money," she had declared. "Leo is my future husband, the most important person in my life." The next day, Isabella offered 10 million. The day after that, Chloe hesitated for a second, but still refused. "Our love isn't something that money can quantify," she had insisted. Isabella laughed. "If you love him as much as you say you do, why not let him have a better life?" Chloe started to doubt herself. "It's not the same. He only loves me. Without me, he wouldn't be happy." Isabella had simply raised an eyebrow. "Really?" On the third day, Isabella offered 20 million. "I can transfer it to you directly. Think it through. I might not be interested in Leo for much longer." Chloe remained silent for a long time, lost in thought. For a moment, Isabella thought she was going to refuse again, but to her surprise, Chloe took out her phone, her hand trembling, and said, "This is my bank account." I had always wanted to ask why. I knew that human nature can't always stand up to tests, and I knew that $20 million was an astronomical sum for an average person. It wasn't just couples. For that kind of money, even wives, kids, and parents might sell you out. But I had naively believed that we were different. We should have been different. After that night, Chloe disappeared completely. She blocked all of my contact information, and it wasn't until 6 months later that I heard from a friend that she had gone abroad. My friend didn't know any of the details, and naturally assumed that I had been the one to leave Chloe for the wealthier Isabella. He was really bummed out about it. "I was the biggest fan of you two as a couple," he'd said. "A handsome guy and a beautiful girl. It was like a fairy tale. How did it come to this?" He paused on the call, hinting at the question he really wanted to ask. "If it was about money, and if Chloe became rich and came looking for you again, would you get back together with her?" "No way," I had shot back immediately. I thought my friend, Mike, was just casually mentioning it, but it turned out he was actively trying to set us up again. Today's call, the one about the birthday surprise, had been from him too, and the surprise turned out to be Chloe, whom I hadn't seen in 3 long years. What a headache. I gripped the umbrella handle tightly. The rain was still pouring. "If there's nothing else, I'm heading back inside," I said flatly. I didn't accept Chloe's diamond ring, and couldn't be bothered to even look at her anymore. As I turned to leave, Chloe got up, still holding the bouquet of roses, and trailed after me. "If you won't accept the proposal, that's fine," she said, her voice softer now. "But as old friends, you could at least invite me up to your place, right?" "It's not a good time," I said without turning around. "My wife is the jealous type." Her footsteps stopped behind me. Just as I felt a wave of relief, I heard Chloe let out a short, cynical snicker. "Leo, I already know. If Isabella still wanted you, do you really think you'd be living in this cheap, out-of-the-way neighborhood?" Sensing my silence, Chloe softened her voice again. Sorry, I didn't mean anything by that. I just wanted to talk. 10 minutes, and then I'll leave. After I reluctantly brought Chloe home, I put the dripping umbrella by the door and changed into a pair of slippers. Chloe glanced around the narrow, cramped hallway, her eyes filled with a look of pity. Leo, I bought a 200-square-meter place in the city, she said. The furniture is all picked out, just the way you'd like it. Why don't you move there with me instead of staying in this dump? As the door swung fully open, revealing the living space, Chloe's eyes widened in shock. Everyone had the same reaction when they stepped into my place for the first time. The inside was all Italian luxury, a stark and complete mismatch with the shabby exterior of the building. I shrugged. 200 meters is a bit small. This place is over 400. I'm used to the space now. Chloe's face was a mixture of complex emotions. You connected the whole floor? It seems like Isabella treated you well before she left you. I ignored her comment. You have 10 minutes. Say what you have to say and then go. Chloe gave a small, pained laugh. Leo, you were never this harsh with me before. I looked away. Just stand there. Don't come in any further. I don't want you messing up my imported carpet. Chloe froze, her eyes darkening. Leo, are you doing okay? I shrugged again, gesturing at the lavish surroundings. $1 million sofa, hundreds of thousands spent on the carpet. You tell me. Chloe looked like she couldn't quite process what she was seeing, that same pained, pitiful expression returning to her face. If Isabella really cared about you, she wouldn't have gotten you a place in an old house like this. No one in the world could ever love you more than me. I scoffed. So much love that it led you to send me to another woman's bed, huh? Chloe's eyes dropped to the floor. I'm sorry. I made mistakes. I misunderstood you before. 3 years ago, when I didn't know anything about her circumstances, Chloe had apparently hit rock bottom. She made a serious error at work, and during a company-wide meeting, the decision was made to fire her. On top of that, she was facing a lawsuit for a huge amount in possible compensation. Right at that moment, her mother fell down the stairs at their rural home. Some neighbors had rushed her to the hospital overnight. The doctor said it was a severe stroke and that she would require long-term, expensive care. The cost of a caregiver alone was no small sum. Her entire world was falling apart, and Chloe, tormented, hadn't slept for several nights. She was a fiercely proud person, and already felt like she somehow owed me something just by being with me. After everything happened, she didn't want to drag me down with her. Isabella's offer, to her, must have felt like a lifeline for someone who was drowning. She instinctively wanted to take it, but she claimed she didn't want to give me up. So I left the choice to you, Leo, Chloe said now, her voice thick with emotion. After all those years, I thought you weren't the materialistic type. She clenched her fist. You said that suit was the best gift you ever got. What about me? What do you call everything I worked so hard to give you over the last few years? The journals I made for you? The portraits I stayed up all night drawing for you? What about all of those? Chloe was too choked up to speak clearly. The island resort? You should have said no. Back then, you would have suggested we sell the meal vouchers and go for hot pot instead. Why didn't you refuse? You like all that fancy stuff too, don't you? I stayed quiet. Honestly, on some level, I could understand Chloe. We were just ordinary people, capable of an ordinary, fragile love that could be easily crushed under the immense stress of life. If it had been me facing that kind of desperation, I might have sold her out too, but I wouldn't have been so self-righteous about it afterwards. What was this nonsense about leaving the choice up to me supposed to mean? She was implying that the path I took was my own choosing, that I was the one who gave up on her for the high life, and so she had no choice but to let me go for my own good. How does someone who sold out their boyfriend manage to climb onto the moral high ground and call me out? It made me feel a bit sick. Yeah, I do like money, I said finally. You've said your piece. Now leave. Chloe just stood there, and I walked over to push her towards the door. In the ensuing push and pull, Chloe grabbed my wrist, her eyes red and glistening with tears. Don't talk about yourself like that. I'm the slob. I'm the one who tainted what we had. Chloe then said she had seen my diary. I froze, my face instantly burning with embarrassment. Being dumped by Chloe, my first reaction hadn't been anger, but a deep self-doubt. What had I done wrong? Was I not good enough for her? Was my love not strong enough? Had there been a misunderstanding between us? Had something terrible happened to her? Was she being forced? It was the way a hopeless romantic thinks, a mindset most people would never understand. Back then, I had even considered the possibility that Chloe had been threatened by Isabella. Maybe she'd been implanted with some kind of bomb, or something equally dramatic. I never once doubted that she just didn't love me enough. It was months later that a friend sent me those photos confirming Chloe was abroad. There she was, leaning against a sports car, smoking a cigarette. Golden autumn leaves littered the ground around her as she stood there in a sharp black coat, looking almost aristocratic. That was a totally different Chloe, one I had never seen before. That was when I finally had to face reality. But I deleted all of that, I said awkwardly to Chloe now. How did you see it? From the recycle bin. I just restored the files. Oh, well, those were just random thoughts. Don't take any of it seriously. Hurry up now. My wife will be back soon. Chloe forced a smile and leaned in close to me. Are you still trying to fool me? The news about Isabella marrying Charles is all over the entertainment headlines. Someone like her would only marry someone who is equal to her in status. I don't mind that you used to be her pet, Leo. Let's get married. Let me make it up to you for the rest of our lives, okay? Get lost, I said. And just as I finished the sentence, the front door clicked open. Isabella stepped inside, carrying a large bag of groceries, and her face was furious. I was just out getting groceries for 5 minutes, and someone tries to rob my home. I quickly pushed Chloe away from me. Honey, let me explain. Chloe turned pale. Isabella, what are you doing here? You two, no way. You're supposed to be marrying Charles. Chloe's gaze flickered between us, a profound sadness entering her eyes. Leo, you'd rather be with her unofficially than marry me? Before I could answer, she seemed to find her fire again, shooting a warning glance at Isabella. I'm not giving up that easily, Leo. When you've calmed down, let's talk. After Chloe finally left, Isabella dumped the bag of groceries on the floor and walked over to me. I shrank back, feeling intensely guilty. What's up? Isabella huffed, glaring at me. Why was she here? I don't know, she just showed up. She grabbed your wrist. Why didn't you slap her? I forgot. You didn't forget when you slapped me, Isabella muttered, her eyes brimming with tears. Leo, you're only tough on me. You're never tough on anyone else. Her voice trailed off, but then her expression shifted. Is it because deep down, you think I'm the one you can always trust, and that bad moods are reserved for those closest to you? So that night at the hotel, you already had feelings for me, right? Isabella quickly convinced herself of this new reality, a smug look spreading across her face. I bought that steak you love. I'll go make it now. You just relax on the couch and watch some TV. Watching her hum contentedly in the kitchen, busy with her tasks, I couldn't help but smile. What a fool. 3 years ago, on that night, after the hotel room door clicked shut, I just sat on the floor hugging my knees, completely lost. Isabella had come over to comfort me, but I had raised a fist at her warily. Stay back. I warn you, human trafficking is a crime. I have my rights. Chloe bought nothing from you. Who do you think you are? She asked. But I was drunk and could barely stand. I stumbled and fell into her arms as she caught me. If you lay a single finger on me, I'm calling the cops, I slurred. This is a law-abiding society, not some trashy novel. Don't even think about insulting me. Isabella simply held me, lightly patting my back as if she were soothing a frightened child. "Don't be afraid, Leo," she whispered. "Don't be scared of me." Her embrace was too warm, her voice too gentle. Suddenly, a huge tide of grievance and anger rose within me. "Fine, go ahead," I yelled. "If Chloe wants to see me with another woman so badly, I'll give her exactly what she wants. Do it!" I can't recall the specifics of what happened next. Just fragmented, hazy scenes in my head. I remember tearing at Isabella's clothes in a drunken desperation. She had weakly resisted, saying, "Leo, don't be rash. Leo, stop touching me." When I had finally managed to strip her clothes off, I think I threw up all over the floor. Isabella cared for me throughout the rest of the night. The next morning, feeling an overwhelming sense of embarrassment and shame, I left the hotel without a single look back. When I returned to my apartment, the once cozy home was a mess. Chloe had taken everything that was hers, erasing every single trace of her existence from my life, as if she had never been a part of it at all. I fell seriously ill after that. It was Isabella who came to my home, staying by my side tirelessly to care for me. Even as she bathed me, my face burned with embarrassment, but I still glared at her with a warning in my eyes. "What did you do to threaten Chloe? Don't mess around with me, I'm my own person. Whatever deal you had with Chloe doesn't concern me, got it?" Isabella just nodded honestly. "I know, don't worry." During that time, I lost my job and just stayed home aimlessly, consumed by a burning anger. Isabella visited often, always bringing food or trying to take me out to ease my mind. I was completely ungrateful. Inside, I was ablaze with fury, thinking about how arrogant she was, how she could so easily destroy my happiness with Chloe just by throwing her money around. I was sure she had coerced Chloe somehow. But how was Chloe doing now? It wasn't until that photo of her surfaced. Chloe, with her relaxed, smug expression, something I had never seen on her face before. She had abandoned our love, and I had stayed behind, foolishly defending the ruins like a clown. This realization broke me entirely. I quickly moved out of the apartment filled with our memories, found a new job, and moved to my current neighborhood. It took Isabella days to find me. "You moved, and you didn't even tell me?" she asked, hurt. I just looked at her coldly. "Why would I have to tell you?" Isabella replied. "Aren't we friends?" "No?" She raised her hands in surrender. Okay. Can the enemy at least invite you to dinner? You can order the most expensive thing on the menu." I squinted at her. "If you're really sincere, you can come to my place and cook for me." My intention was purely to humiliate her. A woman like Isabella surely had never touched household chores in her life. I figured that once her pride was bruised, she would find no more fun in this game and leave me alone. Yet, to my surprise, Isabella agreed cheerfully. Watching her move around my small, dim kitchen felt surreal, almost illusionary. "Aren't you working?" I pointed out. "You're always here." "I have to join a video call in a bit," she answered while expertly chopping vegetables and stirring pots. Half an hour later, she served up a decent 4 dishes and a soup. I was stunned. "You can cook?" Isabella just nodded. "You know," I admitted, suddenly aware of how long I had been lying, even to myself. "I've never actually had Western food. I've never tried it. I doubt I'd even like it." Isabella paused. "Wait a moment." She stepped out to make a call, and about 10 minutes later someone rushed in carrying a large food box. There was so much food that the small table in my kitchen couldn't hold it all. So, Isabella placed the steaks and desserts on the coffee table in the living room. She nudged me to sit on the couch and put a knife and fork in my hand, giving me a look that clearly said, "How will you know if you like it, if you don't even try it?" I was feeling a mix of complex emotions at the time. How would you know without trying? But how many of us regular folks can afford to try everything? Just living is already hard enough. Was this what life was like for the rich? It was annoying, but also, admittedly, kind of thrilling. "Is the steak good?" she asked. I nodded. Isabella reached out and lightly touched my fingertips. What about me? Do you want to try? I hesitated for a long moment, then nodded again. Sure. I said we could give it a try, and just a few days later, Isabella moved all of her stuff over. She insisted that my neighborhood was too remote, and that she couldn't possibly leave me living here all alone. At night, she would sleep on the couch, balled up and tossing and turning restlessly. One night, I turned on the light and came out into the living room. You're so noisy. Can't a person get some sleep around here? Isabella sat up. Sorry, I can just sit up for the rest of the night instead. I glared at her. Am I that heartless? It's only 3 in the morning, and don't you have an early meeting? Get in the bed. My thinking was simple. I just wanted her to get a good night's sleep. Besides, who has the energy for anything else at 3 in the morning? As it turned out, Isabella did. She almost broke my cheap wooden bed. Of course, I couldn't go to work the next day. She, on the other hand, looked fresh and rejuvenated as she headed out for her meeting at 7. Before leaving, she gave me a look, as if she wasn't quite done yet. I'll send over a new bed later, she said with a wink. We need to test if it's sturdy enough. Get out of here! Things between Isabella and me intensified quickly after that. She wanted me to move to the city with her, but back then, I was still holding on to a little bit of ridiculous pride. I told her I liked it here, that it was remote and the air was fresh. You can see the mountains, I said. It's my favorite view. Really? Isabella didn't seem to get it, but she respected my choice. So she bought the entire floor of my building and spent over $20 million on renovations. I was silently groaning inside about my stupid lie, but with so much money already spent, I couldn't just change my mind. I figured I had to stick it out for a bit and then maybe talk about moving after we were married. But Chloe saw this as proof that Isabella didn't truly love me. For a while, Chloe pursued me relentlessly. She said she wanted to make up for her past wrongs. She took me shopping, and of course I didn't refuse. Seriously, Isabella had spent a whopping $20 million on her. Shouldn't I get some of that back? Back in the designer store, I pointed out 2 watches. These 2? Chloe frowned. Leo, aren't they a bit ordinary? Don't worry about saving money for me. Get whatever you like. Besides these 2, pack up everything else for me. Looking at the long string of numbers on the final bill, Chloe's face turned pale. This much? I looked at her with feigned disappointment. Much? This is how Isabella buys me things. It's not much at all if you like it. You just buy it. Chloe gritted her teeth and pulled out her credit card to pay. Wait, sign this agreement first, I said, taking out a voluntary gift contract I had prepared and pinning the bill to it. Chloe froze for a moment, and then gave a wry smile. Leo, what's this? Did Isabella ask for anything back from you before? Don't worry, I'm not like that. She picked up the pen and signed her name confidently. Chloe had used Isabella's money to start a business and was now successful in her own right, worth millions. But she still wasn't on Isabella's level yet, and she couldn't keep up with my spending habits for long. After only 2 more shopping trips, Chloe suddenly asked when I was planning on moving in with her. I smiled mockingly. We're just friends. Why would I do that? Friends? Chloe almost laughed out of sheer frustration. Friends who spend nearly $1 million? Leo, that's not how you treat people. Oh, really? So you give money, and I give myself in return? Is that what you think love is about? Even with all her money, Chloe hadn't changed much from before. She was always calculating. If she gave something, she expected something back. Chloe used to use the same kind of reasoning to talk me into things when we were together. Our finances were equal back then. We had a shared account for saving for a house, and we each used the rest of our money how we wanted. I never took advantage, so she had gotten used to thinking that I owed her. If I accepted her gifts, the least I could do was pay her back with a wedding invitation. After all, she was sort of our matchmaker. I'm marrying Isabella next month, I told her plainly. Come and join the celebration. You can count all those things you bought me as early wedding gifts. At first, Chloe thought I was joking. The news about Isabella marrying Charles was just a fake story, a rumor planted to help the stock price that she simply hadn't bothered to deny. Chloe didn't believe me. Leo, are you still mad at me? What can I do to earn your forgiveness? I looked at Chloe seriously. It's not about forgiveness, Chloe. I've moved on. You should too. My seriousness finally made her panic. I don't believe it, Leo. I'm rich now. Why can't you choose me? I felt amused. No matter how rich you get, will you ever beat Isabella's wealth? I have Isabella. Why on earth would I choose you? I'm not dumb. Chloe was silent for a long time, then struggled to speak. But you're not materialistic. I know you. You don't care about that stuff. If you really think I don't care about money, then why are you trying to win me over with it? I opened the car door, giving her a final warning. I had some free time recently, so I hung out with you a bit. Stop looking for me. I'm busy planning a wedding. I shut the door and saw the raw panic and helplessness in her eyes as the car drove away. I blocked Chloe on everything, deleted all her contact information, and even sold off all the gifts she had gotten me, making a nice bit of cash. I tried to erase all traces of her from my life, just like she had once done to me. This was mainly because Isabella is incredibly jealous. And if she ever found out I had been spending time with Chloe, who knows what she would do? I thought I had made everything foolproof, but I forgot about sending Chloe the wedding invitation. The invitation was partly to let her know for certain that it was over between us, and partly, I admit, to gloat a little. On the wedding day, seeing a familiar face in the crowd, Isabella's smile froze on her lips. She glared at me sharply. Why is she here? I froze for a second before I could say a word, but Isabella went on, her expression softening. You invited her. Does that mean she's really and truly out of your heart? You don't actually care about her feelings at all, right? Only people who have truly moved on can have that kind of peace of mind. Yes, that's it exactly, I started to say. Sam, shut up, Isabella whispered, then leaned in and kissed me lightly as she saw the sad look on my face. I love you. The officiant was whispering from the side. Isn't this the wrong part of the ceremony? The crowd broke into applause. In a far corner, Chloe was crying non-stop. The Island Hotel had always been our dream destination. She had said she would have me marry her there someday. Now that dream was real, but I wasn't marrying her. Chloe's epilogue. I cried so hard I could barely stand, propping myself up against the cool marble wall. My stomach was in knots, twisting around itself painfully. Through my blurry, tear-filled vision, I saw the couple on the stage embracing, kissing. I saw the woman slip the diamond ring onto Leo's finger. It was just like the scene I had imagined in my mind countless times. 3 years, 1,132 days and nights. Not a single one had passed without a wave of deep, gut-wrenching regret. I couldn't sleep, night after night, because whenever I closed my eyes, all I could see was Leo's face. I had been chasing money for so long, thinking it would finally make me happy, but after the brief, fleeting moments of joy that wealth brought, there was just an endless, hollow emptiness. Sitting in a fancy car all by myself turned out to be incredibly lonely. Sometimes, while driving, I'd see a young guy on a scooter with his girlfriend wrapped around his waist, and I would get so lost in a feeling of overwhelming envy. The smiles on their faces were so open, so full of life. They must be so happy, I'd think. I once had that kind of happiness too, but I lost the boy I loved the most with my own 2 hands. At a red light, I rolled down my car window. A young man on a bike turned and smiled at me, a hopeful, trying to please kind of smile. Your car must have cost a lot, huh? He said. We passed each other, both of us admiring what the other had. Leo's epilogue. I never thought Isabella would find out about my secret meetings with Chloe. She came across the gift agreement paperwork I had stored in the cabinet. Isabella's long, elegant fingers flipped through the lengthy bills, her eyebrows twitching slightly. "Why didn't you just ask me if you wanted a watch?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. I rushed over to hug her waist from behind. "Honey, let me explain." Isabella gently ran her fingers through my hair. "I know. It's all that woman's fault. She knew we were about to get married, but she still tried to get close to you." Isabella slowly began to unbutton my pajamas, one by one, before pinning me down to the bed. She gently nibbled on my ear. "It's getting cold out," she whispered. "Chloe's company should be going bankrupt soon."